In a small town nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, Grace lived a life of quiet struggle. She worked long hours at a local diner, serving coffee to regulars who hardly noticed her tired eyes and swollen feet. She lived alone in a run-down apartment on the outskirts of town, scraping by on meager tips and a small paycheck. Grace was 9 months pregnant, and every day was a new challenge: rent, bills, and the constant worry of how she would support her baby on the way. Grace's dreams had been simple once: a family, a little house, and a steady job. But life had dealt her a different hand. Abandoned by her boyfriend when he learned of her pregnancy, Grace was left to face the world on her own. The town was small and tightly knit, but she often felt like an outsider, invisible among the familiar faces. With no family to lean on, every day felt like an uphill battle. One chilly evening, as Grace finished her shift at the diner, she felt a sudden, sharp pain. Her baby was coming early. She grabbed her coat and clutched her belly, panic setting in. The small clinic was a 15-minute walk away, and Grace had no money for a taxi. She made her way through the quiet streets, each step heavy with fear and pain, passing by homes where families were already settling in for the night. By the time she reached the clinic, she was in full labor. The clinic was small, outdated, and dimly lit, with peeling paint and flickering fluorescent lights. The nurses on duty rushed to help, guiding her into a tiny room with an old metal bed. The place was underfunded, and the staff were stretched thin, but they did their best. Grace's labor was long and grueling, and she was alone, save for the hurried and comforting words of the nurse by her side. Finally, after hours of struggle, Grace's son was born, but as the doctor held the newborn, he noticed something unusual. Something clutched tightly in the baby's tiny hand. It was a small, shimmering gold nugget, raw and gleaming in the dim light of the delivery room. The nurses stared, wide-eyed and speechless, unable to believe what they were seeing. Grace, exhausted and still in shock, looked at the gold nugget, stunned. She had never seen real gold before, and now, her son was born holding a piece of it. Word of the miraculous birth spread quickly through the small town. Soon, the local news picked up the story. Baby born holding gold nugget, a modern miracle. Reporters flooded the clinic, eager to catch a glimpse of the newborn and his unbelievable fortune. The story went viral, and within days, Grace was receiving offers from collectors, jewelers, and investors willing to pay exorbitant amounts for the nugget. One wealthy businessman, moved by Grace's story, offered to buy the nugget for a price that would not only secure her immediate future, but also provide a trust fund for her son's education. He saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help a struggling mother and child while acquiring a unique piece of history. After careful consideration, Grace accepted the offer. The money allowed her to move out of her cramped, dilapidated apartment and into a modest home with space for her baby. She bought a crib, clothes, and all the things she had worried she'd never be able to afford. For the first time in her life, Grace could breathe without the constant fear of not having enough. But Grace didn't just use the money for herself. She invested in her dreams, opening a small bakery in the heart of town. Baking had always been her passion, something she had learned from her grandmother as a child, but it was a dream she had long pushed aside in the face of survival. Now, she had the chance to start anew. Her bakery quickly became a town favorite, known for its warm bread, delicious pastries, and the heartwarming story behind it. People from all over came to see Grace and her son, whose story had inspired so many. The gold nugget, now displayed in a glass case at the bakery, was a symbol of hope and the unexpected turns life could take. Grace's son grew up surrounded by love, the smell of fresh bread, and the warmth of a community that had rallied around them. As the years passed, Grace often looked back on that night at the clinic with gratitude and awe. The gold nugget was more than just a piece of wealth. It was a reminder of the miraculous turn of events that had lifted her from despair. It taught her that even in the darkest moments, life could offer something extraordinary. Grace's story became a modern legend in the small town, a testament to resilience, hope, and the belief that sometimes miracles really do happen. Her son, now a bright and curious boy, would often ask her about the night he was born. Grace would smile, pull him close, and tell him the tale of how he came into the world with gold in his hand, changing their lives forever. And as she watched him grow, she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, buoyed by the miracle that had started it all.